Hi, and welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag. Yes, I am back this week. Chief Tharp is here with me. We're excited about this opportunity to be together again.
I'm just happy you're back, because we were really missing you there for a little bit, like 2 days.
Yeah, not a lot. Yeah. No, small doses of me coming back. I have to say, though, people questioned when I came back in the office less than 1 week post back surgery, why are you here? And, I just want everybody to know that when you look at our senior staff and the managers and folks that we have that work with CAFMA, I'm truly blessed because I don't have to worry about how the operations of CAFMA are going on a day-to-day basis because we've got such a talented team of people that's not a concern for me. The reason I was pushing myself to get back is because I was gone for FRI, then I came back from FRI sick, missed time at work again, then went to Mesa for the Chiefs Conference or the fire school, and then the following week had surgery. And it's not about whether or not things are operating well in the agency because I know they are. It's about being present and at least people feeling like they have access if they have a question or they need something from me. I will say that pushing myself the first 2 days of full days in the office, less than a week post back surgery, was not one of my better ideas.
Well, live and learn.
Yeah, I live. I rarely learn, Dave.
That's
I think
all right.
you know me well enough to know
all right.
I rarely learn. But and that kind of leads into what I wanted to talk with you about this week because you wrote the review for us, for me last week in my absence. And as I told you the other day, I actually got a shout out about you from my mom.
Hi, Mom.
Who reads the review. And
one of our tens.
One of our tens of, more people read the review. Our tens of viewers and listeners for the podcast, that's separate.
Oh, gotcha.
But occasionally I do have people that come up to me like at fire school and somebody said, I'm one of your tens of viewers. I'm like, well, that's awesome to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
I'm sorry. But, you wrote about your Achilles and the pain and, and I've said to you all that between the flare-up of rheumatoid arthritis that I didn't know I had, on top of the back pain, which led to significant lack of sleep, I just felt like I've been in a fog. And just the back pain for a couple of years was keeping me up at night, and then the rheumatoid arthritis was keeping me up all night long where I couldn't sleep. And so with some path forward on the RA, with back surgery behind me, still surgical discomfort, I kind of feel like I'm emerging from the fog and I'm ready to engage, which scares some folks.
Yeah, people have been warned, and I don't think the comment of "what are you doing here" was really more asking about why are you here because we're concerned about your back, and post healing was more like, no, why are you? What are you doing here? Because here comes all the great ideas and everything else that you come up with. So
yeah, what are you coming up with? But I think we all know as CAFMA that we're an organization that is continually moving forward and progressing. Even if it's little steps, the fact of the matter is we're continually trying to move forward, and that's important. But when we talk about firefighters and pain, and I wrote a little bit about this in the review this week, that my back surgery is my 15th orthopedic surgery. And I don't think it's my last because I have to call my ortho doctor still today after we record this on another matter associated. And as firefighters, we are horrible at recognizing when our body is telling us to slow down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that we're the worst patients out there. They say firefighters and nurses are like the worst patients because we absolutely think that we know exactly what we need to do, and we kind of disregard what doctors say. I'm always laughing sometimes when I see shows and, they're like, hey, listen, from Happy Gilmore, they're like, hey, listen, you need to take the day off. You need to not finish this tournament out. And he says, what are you talking about? I got to finish this golf tournament. And guy goes,
Do whatever you like. What would I know? I'm just a doctor.
Right.
you know, I'm just a doctor. Like, don't listen to me. Who cares? You know? And I think that we all fall into that trap, and we kind of get ourselves into a trap of saying, hey, listen, we really don't need to listen to this. We know what's best
Right.
for us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and back injuries are very common in our profession, and you'll have workers' comp folks come in and say, well, you just need to lift this way. You lift with your knees, not your back. Well, when you have even whether it's a large patient or a small patient wedged in between a toilet and a wall and a small bathroom, there's not a lot of lifting with your knee. It's, okay, how are we going to get this person out? Or years of, in St. Louis, we had basements and a lot of two-story structures. So you had heavy patients that would be upstairs or in the basement, and we would be carrying them back and forth. And that just, over time, it takes a toll. Or I remember the first time I hurt my back, I think I was maybe 23, 24 at the time, brand new paramedic. It was just me and my partner in downtown St. Louis, and we had one of the old Furno stretchers, you know, the manual ones where you had to lift it yourself. And as those stretchers did, it collapsed with a 300-pound patient on it, and it happened to take me with it. And being that age, I was like, that's weird. Something hurts in my back. I don't understand this.
right.
I'm sure it'll go away. And
It doesn't.
no, it never did. And same with all of the other injuries. They just continue. I wish I would have been smarter through my career about that. So for you folks that are just starting, that are listening to this, listen to your body. If something hurts or you feel something tweak, deal with it. And I don't mean deal with it as in deal with the pain. I mean, take care of it.
Right.
Deal with it. Because these things linger, and then you go into retirement and you're barely walking around. And we have at least 3 of us out right now from back surgery.
Yeah. I mean, I think in many ways in the fire service, just like you said, we kind of emphasize and we kind of preach to our personnel, hey, listen, you need to be physically fit. You need to take the necessary steps to be in peak optimal conditioning. You need to be working out not only aerobically, but anaerobically. You need to be able to build your muscle tissue. You need to have core strength, good ergonomics. Here's all this equipment. Here's all this training. Here's our pure fitness guys that are specialized in being able to help you. Here's all this stuff. And yet and it really does come down to individual decisions. And the individual decisions sometimes are, I'm not going to listen to any of that. I'm not going to do any of that. I know what I'm doing. I'm good with all of this. And sometimes the consequences to those types of individual decisions end up hurting us in the long run. Instead of, just like you said, taking all of that initiative and being able to commit yourself and saying, you know what, this is going to be a long career. It's going to potentially be physically damaging to me. I really need to listen and kind of take those steps to be able to make sure that I'm prepared the best I can. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to meet every challenge, right? Just like you said, a 300-pound person with on a gurney that's collapsing, you're probably not going to be strong enough to just, catch that with just your arm strength. But hopefully you'll be able to minimize those damages and those damaging events.
Well, and that's why, like with the rescues that we have today, one of them has that auto load feature. And if we get our ambulance transport license, we will look to put the auto loads in all of the rescues, not just the one. But we still have battery-aided, motor-operated stretchers to decrease the instance of those things collapsing. And I think with the new technology, they're not. But while these self-loading devices are really expensive, if we think of the cost of a workers' comp injury related to the back, we basically have paid for that self-loading stretcher with one back injury.
Sure, yeah.
And to be honest, for our people, those back injuries, they never go away. So I would prefer as an agency, I think we prefer to invest the money to try to prevent the injuries. And it's interesting to me, thinking back, because I was writing this in the review this week, and I said after 29 years in this profession, I had to take pause because I'm like, oh my God, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I'm super old. not maturity-wise, but physically. So,
as is evidenced.
yes. So when I look back, today I see I'm on the workers' comp email, so I get the workers' comp reports that people send in, and I'm glad they're doing that, because when I started, we just didn't say anything.
Right.
One of my first days on the job was St. Charles City Fire Department. There we had 2-story station, and we had a firefighter's pole to slide down. One of the things they don't teach you in the fire academy is how to properly slide that pole down. So the first time I hit the pole for a call, sliding down, hands heat up, I let go thinking I'm close to the bottom. I was not. Landed, bashed my knee directly into that pole, and it hurt. I sucked it up. I got on the rig, went on the call, came back, continued to ignore it. 2 weeks later, I had to start the fire academy in St. Louis County full-time. And I wasn't limping because I didn't want anybody to see it, and I didn't want anybody to know that I was hurt. Years later, they took an x-ray of my knee for something else, and they said, "When did you fracture this?" Like, well, pretty sure I know.
Yeah.
But we just didn't report it. I remember burning my hand at a fire, and I looked at it and I said, "Nah, we'll put some ointment on it." And several days later, it was infected and inflamed, and I went back to the assistant chief. I'm like, "Hey, burn my hand on this thing." And he's like, "Why didn't you report that days ago?" He said, "I'll try to send your workers' comp up," but, and eventually it got treated. But what I'm saying is there's a different mindset today than there was years ago, and I appreciate that from our folks. If you injure yourself at work, I don't care if it's in the gym, in the engine bay, or on a call, write it up so that we have it to protect you. We have the pure fitness folks. We have that, what do they call that ergonomic training that we're trying to do?
Ergonomic training? I don't know, remember exactly.
It's some movement thing. Sorry, pure fitness guys, I don't remember. But I think incorporating that into what we do here at CAFMA to help prevent those long-term nagging injuries is far better than what I came up in.
Yeah, and I would agree. Again, it takes an individual's commitment as well to saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to stick to this." At any given time, as you've talked about in the organization, we're always moving forward. We're trying to move forward because even taking those little small baby steps, if you kind of just sit still and you do the status quo and you just do the minimum possible to be able to survive, well, you're falling behind immediately, right? Whether it's in business or even in physical fitness. If you're not constantly trying to push yourself a little bit more to become a little bit stronger, a little bit better, a little bit more aerobically fit, and you just kind of stick with, "Hey, listen, I'm in shape right now, and I just don't need to lift any more weights, or I don't need to run, or I don't need to do any more physical exercise," you're going to fall behind. And eventually you're going to reap the benefits of that inactivity.
So, Dave, let me ask you, how long were you ignoring that Achilles?
Well over 8 years. And I say that because, it led to some epiphanies. One is about physical fitness. The other one was about mental health and kind of mental fitness as well. But I think that the bigger thing for me was, again, not listening. It was interesting going through physical therapy of not listening to people that are experts in their field telling you how to do things. And, working out in construction for years and years and years, you pick up some very, very bad habits. Working in the fire service in the early years, you pick up some very, very bad habits as far as how to lift, how to use your shoulders, how to do things. And I think today, being much wiser than I was back then, like I said, my days kind of start out with some stretching exercises. Right. And I'm sure if anybody was to watch it, they'd think it was hilarious because I'm trying to imitate some yoga poses that I am just not flexible and not good at.
I don't even want to see it.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
ugly.
Picturing it.
But it helps me to be able to realize, hey, listen, I need to develop this flexibility. I need to develop not only physical arm strength, shoulder strength, leg strength, but core strength as well.
Right.
And to be able to recognize what are your limitations and then what are your weaknesses and how can you kind of move to better those areas of weakness. Right. And that becomes a little bit more of my focus now, not so much, hey, I can go out and run 5 miles or I can bench press 280 pounds or anything like that. That doesn't matter to me anymore as much as, okay, am I able to move and not get hurt? Able to have this core strength, the arm strength, the shoulder strength, all those types of things to be able to still be able to do the jobs that I want to do, whether it's outside work, inside work, being able to lift up couches with my kids or whatever it is. Yeah. So.
Just basic functional things. And I still need to learn that, but it's interesting you mentioned yoga because I'm actually interested in trying to learn some of those poses or movements. I had the opportunity to visit with Nick, California, over the weekend, who had back surgery, and he came by and visited with me and was talking to me about some of the things he does today to try to create that balance in his lower back and his hips so that one's not pulling in different places. And I think yoga is something that is known for helping people find that balance. But when I look on YouTube, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And, the old P90X, I did that as the extreme yoga.
Right.
I don't think I need extreme yoga. I think I need to figure some other things out. So if somebody out there has some information for me, I wouldn't mind taking a lesson in yoga.
Nice.
I'd go somewhere. Reach out to me via my work email, sfreitag@cazfire.gov, right, Jonah? .gov, that's new. So that, because I'm looking for somebody that offers that type of, I've also been thinking about in the hospital, they were talking to me about deep breathing exercise, and they gave me that stupid little machine. Jen put it next to the couch when we got home. I moved it somewhere else. But I was thinking about, okay, that deep breathing, getting that mind-body connection, because as I said, I feel like I'm coming out of a bit of a fog, a multi-year fog almost, where I'm like, okay, I've been functioning, but I'm not functioning at the level that I would like to function at.
Right, yeah.
That the board and our personnel expect me to function at. That scares some of the other folks who have to deal with me on a regular basis. They're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Right.
No, we need you to go back into a little bit of a fog. So, but to try to connect all of those things, because I think learning that balance will also help me with my strength training when I'm able to get back into the gym, because I tend to push too much and forget that I'm not 25, I'm 52. Right. And it takes a little bit more.
Well, and I think that even so in my physical therapy, the injury that I sustained that ended up leading to the overall surgery was because of box jumps. And it was literally jumping from flat-footed up on 24-inch platforms and then jumping back down. And, most people can do that. They struggle with it. They struggle with balance. They struggle with a lot of different things. And the thing was that in my physical therapy, they had me doing box jumps within 2 weeks after my surgery. Right. And people were like, wow, I can't believe you're doing that because of the impact on your Achilles. But what they were teaching me was you can do it with very little impact to your Achilles. Like there's ways in which you can manage this, and the way that you approach it is completely different than what you would do maybe in a gym surrounded by, just like you said, a bunch of 25-year-olds that are just, ripped and are doing way better than you are. And so I learned a lot from being able to watch them and being able to listen. And part of that was also humbling yourself to be able to say, okay, I'm just like you said, I'm not as young as I once was, and I don't know everything. And just because I've worked out for 30 years doesn't mean that I really understand my own body in many ways. And so I need to really listen to what they're saying. And now I'm back up to 18-inch box jumps, no problem.
Right.
But I think that, again, it's a matter of being able to kind of look at and say, what are my weaknesses? What are the things that I need to work on? And then turn around and kind of tailor what your training is towards that.
And part of that is a willingness to listen. Where did you go for physical therapy?
Center for Physical Excellence.
Who's your therapist there?
I had like 4 of them, actually. Okay. Yeah, they kind of rotated around. Jeremy was the main one. I think that he was the one that kind of helped.
Did you go to their location here in Prescott Valley?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to the location in Prescott for Center for Physical Excellence. Shout out to Laura Markey, who is the head physical therapist and owner of that facility. And she was actually my therapist. Just a word of caution to folks out there. I forgot that I was friends with Laura on social media. And so I may have posted some pictures in Close Enough Garage of working on some things in the shop. And so the next day I walked into physical therapy, limped in, drug my butt in, and she looked at me and said, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "I feel terrible." And she's like, "Then why are you bent over the engine compartment of a truck in your shop?" I'm like, "Oh, crap.
Social media.
I forgot we're friends on social media."
Comes back to bite you.
So from there on out, there were no pictures of me working on anything.
Oh.
There were products that were completed in the shop, but no proof it was me that had anything to do with it.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Here's the other thing, Dave, and I'm pushing my dad on this now. I actually called him last night. He's having back problems, and I finally got out of him that he's going to an orthopedic doc pain management specialist. And I said, "Dad, this is your back. You need to see a neurosurgeon." "Well, I don't know." He's stubborn. I don't
know where that came from.
I don't either. So I called my sister last night, who's a nurse back in the St. Louis area, and I'm like, "Hey, I need your help with Dad. I don't know if you know this or not, but he's stubborn." And so I talked to her this morning, and she's going to push him to go to a neurosurgeon. But what I was trying to tell him is the same thing that I had to do here, and I'm thankful to Laura Markey for providing me some direction. Be an advocate for your health. If you're not hearing what you think you want to hear, or you're not sure, get a second opinion.
Yeah.
And I did that with my back. I mean, it took 2 years to finally get to the right physician. And, I went to a very well-known, highly respected medical facility, highly regarded, to one of their top neurosurgeons. And quite honestly, I didn't like the bedside manner. I didn't like the direction that he provided, and he blew me off as a patient. And so I went to physical therapy, and Laura said, "Hey, this isn't working for you. You have got to go back in and see a neurosurgeon." So I called one of the new neurosurgeons up here, and they kind of gave me the runaround on trying to get in. And so Laura said, "Call Desert Institute for Spinal Care." And I called them on a Tuesday. They had me in with Dr. Justin Field on Thursday. He sent me for an MRI. That's down in Phoenix. And he said, when you get the MRI, call me. When I get the results, I'll call you so you don't have to make another trip down. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, Scott, this is Justin Field." And I'm like, "Doctor, how are you?" He said, "Here's what I'm seeing. You've done the least invasive stuff. Based on the way you're presenting, we need to do some surgery, a laminectomy." But he said, "I think you're going to be really good with that. I don't think we're going to have to go further, but we'll look while we're in there." And we scheduled the surgery. And what I really liked was, one, great bedside manner, just a really good attitude, great facility to go to, fantastic interaction with staff. But three, the doctor treated me like a person and not an MRI. I wasn't a picture to him. I was a person that was presenting signs and symptoms of something that wasn't necessarily clear on an MRI picture.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And I'm glad that you got the outcome that you wanted. Being pain-free, I think, is always the ultimate outcome, to be able to not only be pain-free, but also have the strength and the ability to be able to go through life without that injury occurring again. Right. I think is a big one as well.
Well, now the challenge for me is finding a rheumatoid arthritis doctor. I do have an appointment next week with the only doctor in Prescott. Continuing to look, but apparently even in talking with physicians around the state, finding a good rheumatoid arthritis doctor is like finding a unicorn. And not that they're not there, it's just that there's so few available. Mm-hmm. So we'll try this doc. If I'm not thrilled with that, then we'll keep looking. I'm continuing to look because I want to make sure with RA, something that's not curable, it's long-term I have to deal with, that I get the right doctor for me, because I don't want to just control this with whatever medications are out there on the market.
Sure.
If there's a way to pair a commercial med with some holistic type of things, changes in diet, exercise, I want to incorporate all of that into that long-term care.
No, that's important. I think one of the big things that came out of also when I wrote the review, one of the things that also helped was for me to look kind of over the last few years holistically at my life in general, not just the physical part, but also the mental part. And so, being able to be prepared for those challenges that are going to come, because, life is full of challenges. It's not going to ever stop. And in many cases, it gets even more challenging as time goes on, especially if there's any indication in the national realm of how challenging things are, it's going to get even more challenging.
Sure.
And I think that people need to prepare themselves.
Right.
We in the fire service and in public safety really focus on the physical aspect of preparation. And now we're kind of scratching the surface on getting mentally prepared, but a lot of times we're dealing with the injury part. So just like you're saying, hey, I got back injury, I got to go in for surgery. I have some other injury I need some medications for, et cetera, et cetera. I think that we need to also focus on what are those things that we need to do in our lives to be mentally prepared and to be able to turn around, and just like we work out and we build up our arm strength and our shoulder strength and everything to be able to deal with the physical rigors of our job, to be able to also, even in individual lives, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself, because life is going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be really bad times. There's going to be sad times. There's going to be angry times in your life. You're going to have to deal with that and be able to prepare yourself. And what are those steps towards preparing for that? And how can you do that? And it's an individual journey, and everybody is going to be individualized on how they prepare for that. No different than it's individual on your preparation for a workout or some sort of post-surgery.
Well, I know we've talked about this before. Getting into the gym in the morning mentally prepares us for the day, and being physically fit really helps with that behavioral health side of the job that we have, because we know there are those hidden injuries, those hidden emotional behavioral health type injuries that we're starting to address. But when you're in pain, it just makes those worse. It increases the intensity because you're more short-tempered, you're more tired, you're less able to focus on tasks at hand. Right. So it really is truly a mind-body connection that you need to make, because, man, being in constant pain and not sleeping has had an impact on how I'm able to focus on things, or, to be honest with you, not focus on things the way that I need to, and miss things and forget things. And so getting back to the point where you can sleep, you can move physically with just the surgical discomfort, it just changes your whole spirit. I feel much healthier now. Yes, I pushed the last couple of days, didn't feel so healthy last night or this morning. But with some ice, with some ibuprofen, with some rest, I felt better before I came in to record this.
Sure.
But I also know today and tomorrow, my time in the office is going to be a little more limited than it has been the first 2 days, because, I'm not smart and I'm a slow learner.
Well, you did learn.
I did learn. I did pick up on some things, some subtleties. But I think the key here is, really, folks, take care of yourself. Mentally, emotionally, physically, it's all one thing. I'm told that pretzels and rock stars are not necessarily health food or a staple of diet. So Jen is trying to force more green stuff on my plate at dinner. Thank you, I guess. I don't know. Not real big on that, but whatever. I'm going to move forward. There's something called quinoa. It's supposed to be really good for you. I ordered some in the hospital. I'm like, well, I'll eat it. Looks like mush, but it was decent.
Okay, good.
So trying some new things.
Baby steps. Dave,
I appreciate you coming on this week. Jonah, I appreciate you being here. I I just wanted to cover some of this because I know there's other people out there in our organization that are suffering in pain right now. So other folks who have had recent back surgeries, and if we continue to support each other, make the right decisions, fill out the workers' comp paperwork when you are hurt, whether you had to go to the doctor right then or not, at least document it. It's better for you long term. It protects you as an employee of this agency, and be an advocate for your health, and that includes trying to eat right, seeking out more balance and ways, and yoga, whatever that is for you, but also be an advocate for your health care, and seek the physician or clinician that works best for you.
Absolutely.
So again, Dave, Jonah, thank you very much. We appreciate our tens of viewers and listeners. So until next week, try not to get in trouble, try not to hurt yourself, and be an advocate for you.